The first monster, the Asghar, the Murderer story. In the early decades of the 20th century, as Iran struggled to modernize under the rule of Reza Shah Pahlavi, a shadow moved through the streets of Tehran that would forever change how the nation understood the capacity for human evil. Between 1933 and 1934, the discovery of mutilated bodies in the furnaces and aqueducts of southern Tehran would reveal the presence of Iran's first recorded serial killer, a man whose crimes would shock a society unprepared for such systematic violence. This is the story of Ali Asghar Borujerdi, known to history as Asghar the Murderer, whose reign of terror spanning 2 countries and more than 2 decades would establish him as the first documented serial killer in Iranian history. To understand the emergence of Asghar the Murderer, we must first examine the turbulent world of the early 20th century Middle East. This was a time of dramatic social transformation and political upheaval. Reza Shah's modernization campaigns drew people from rural areas to growing cities like Tehran, while in Iraq, the aftermath of World War I created similarly unstable conditions. In this environment of social disruption and weak institutional control, a predator found perfect conditions to begin a killing spree. Ali Asghar Borujerdi was born in 1893 in Borujerd into a family with a long criminal history. His grandfather, Zulfali, was a notorious bandit who robbed caravans, sometimes murdering owners who resisted. His father, Ali Mirza, continued this tradition as a road thief. This criminal heritage created an environment where violence was normalized and human life greatly diminished in value. When Asghar was 8, his family migrated to Iraq, eventually settling in Baghdad when he was 14. There, he found work selling snacks to children, providing perfect access to future victims. He used his position to befriend children, promising treats before sexually abusing them. At 14, Asghar was first arrested for child sexual abuse in Baghdad, but was treated leniently due to his age. Rather than learning from this encounter, he simply became more careful. When arrested again after abusing 5 children, he received 9 years in prison, time that only hardened his resolve rather than rehabilitating him. Upon release at 27, Asghar escalated to murder. He later claimed he killed 25 children and adolescents in Iraq, explaining that he murdered victims to eliminate witnesses. This calculated reasoning reveals the methodical nature of his crimes. In 1933, Asghar's criminal career in Iraq ended when he was nearly caught murdering his final Iraqi victim. Another boy witnessed the crime, forcing him to flee Baghdad immediately. Rather than returning to Borujerd, where his family's reputation might make him conspicuous, Asghar chose Tehran's anonymity. Taking residence in the Reza Khan caravanserai, he worked as a porter and vegetable seller while targeting male teenagers seeking work. These vulnerable young men from rural areas often went unnoticed when they disappeared. Between his 1933 arrival and March 1934 arrest, Asghar killed 8 people, dumping their mutilated bodies in southern Tehran's furnaces and aqueducts. The investigation began in January 1933 when a teenager discovered a boy's body in Kale Karabey village. Authorities found 3 corpses, all under 20, killed within 2 weeks with heads severed. Tehran police assigned Inspector Sardar Timur Khan to lead the investigation. The break came on March 10, 1933, when officers encountered a middle-aged man selling vegetables near Aminabad aqueducts. They noticed bloody clothes and a blood-stained knife. When questioned, he claimed he'd bought the clothes at a market, and the knife was for preparing vegetables. Unconvinced, officers arrested him. At his residence, neighbors reported that the previous night, the man had introduced a young boy as his brother who slept in his room and hadn't been seen since. The bloody clothing was identified as belonging to this teenager, providing crucial evidence. Under intensive questioning, the suspect revealed his identity as Ali Asghar Borujerdi, a 41-year-old Iranian recently returned from Baghdad. He eventually confessed that the bloody clothes belonged to Ali, an adolescent employee whom he had raped and murdered when the boy tried to run away. Asghar provided investigators with details of his criminal career, admitting to raping and murdering 8 children in Tehran and 25 in Baghdad, 33 victims total. His trial began in June 1934, making headlines as Iran's first major serial murder case. When asked to explain his crimes, Asghar revealed his disturbed worldview. These are people without parents. They are useless and beautiful. When their facial hair starts to grow, they become thieves. I have enmity with them. These are the enemies of society. Because of that, I have killed them. This statement reveals his targeting of vulnerable children because of their marginalized status, viewing them as disposable. His dehumanization of victims as useless demonstrates how he rationalized murder as performing a social service. Asghar was sentenced to 9 years imprisonment followed by execution. On July 6, 1934, he was executed by hanging in Topkapı Square before a massive crowd. Initially appearing unconcerned, he grew fearful upon seeing the rope. In his final moments, he pathetically offered 2 sheep for his life, then protested, "I killed some tramps. I killed them because of you," attempting to shift blame onto society. The case represented a watershed moment in Iranian criminal justice. As Iran's first documented serial killer, Asghar forced the country to confront such systematic violence. The successful investigation during Reza Shah's modernization demonstrated the government's ability to handle complex crimes and maintain order. His international crimes, spanning Iraq and Iran, highlighted challenges in tracking cross-border criminals. His ability to continue killing for decades while moving between countries revealed gaps in international police cooperation that wouldn't be addressed for years. Modern analysis reveals characteristics typical of serial killers: targeting vulnerable victims, maintaining a normal facade, complete lack of empathy. His family's criminal history suggests genetic or environmental factors contributing to his development, while his progression from assault to murder follows patterns criminologists now recognize. Asghar's case offers important contemporary lessons. His exploitation of social disruption and targeting of marginalized populations remains relevant where similar conditions create opportunities for predatory behavior. His early arrests for sexual assault represented missed opportunities to prevent murders, demonstrating the importance of taking early violent behavior seriously. Today, Tehran bears little resemblance to the city terrorized by Asghar in the 1930s, yet his lessons remain relevant. The 33 young victims remind us that monsters can emerge anywhere, and society's most vulnerable suffer first when institutions fail. Asghar represents more than Iran's first serial killer. He embodies evil that flourishes when society fails to protect its vulnerable members. His story serves as both historical record and contemporary warning. Evil can emerge anywhere. Vigilance is eternal, and protecting society's most vulnerable isn't just moral imperative, but a practical necessity for all. Long before the world knew the term serial killer, one man etched terror into Tehran's shadows. If this story gave you pause or pulled back the curtain on forgotten truths, like, share, and subscribe to Weird World Wonders. Here, we don't just tell stories of monsters. We honor lives lost and expose the cracks that let them in. Until next time, remember, vigilance isn't paranoia, it's protection.